So, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I know I am the only blocker between the lunch, so I'll try and make it crisp. But I would encourage everyone to have questions and do feel free to ask questions and chime in. Um, True to the overall agenda, I think it's just 15 minutes that we are speaking, so we'll probably try and keep it short and more interactive that we have. So when we talk about future of finance, why the change, and I think more impetus has been given about the changes that is happening. But what importantly we will talk about is what are the big bets in finance and the need for change, right? So I think would like to point out, I think one of the critical pieces that we get to hear from clients is, look, we are the best. It is our way of doing, and we have done whatever it needs to be done. But the quote from Nelson Mandela itself says that no matter how high you climb, there's always the next peak, right? Unless you climb Mount Everest per se. So with that view, I think what we are looking at is we'll focus on the right-hand side of the screen where we are talking about three key changes that is bringing about value. And this was a question that Anurag and we spoke about in the morning. One, how do we make finance more and more touchless, which is the autonomous part of it? How we involve data and strategies into it? And third is talent, right? The three elements that is shaping the future of finance is what we will focus upon in subsequent slides. But what is the dilemma that all CFOs have today? If you were to look into it and reflect back into it, you see that one, Mr. Mistry spoke about short-term versus long-term value. So what's the paradox? Because each CFOs are pressured to deliver on numbers as well. So what is the how do you decide between creating a long-term versus a short-term benefits? That's number one. Number two is obviously at the cost of risk versus innovation. That's the second dilemma that organizations are faced into. Do you invest in protecting yourself or mitigating the risk versus innovation? That's the balance that you need to drive through. And third is obviously the skill sets that you have. And you see below are the numbers. That's the global survey that we did with our CFOs to validate these three inferences that we have. So we talked about chief finance officer, etc. But what we call it as chief value officer, and would like to draw your attention to the bottom half of it, where how the percentage of time is changing from what it used to be traditional to what it is now. For example, agility, how adaptive your function is to the changes, right? During the break, we were talking about the onset of digital in the GST infrastructure, right? How does it impact your financial processes, so on and so forth. I think two important pieces here from a value creation perspective. The last two pieces becomes very important. Is what we are seeing in the industry is CFOs leading the growth agenda, and that's where CFO programs are carved out, where CFO is chairing the meeting to drive growth agenda for the organization, be it capital investments, be it growth, sales acceleration, be it the growth mindset. Having said that, I think very important piece that we will talk about is what are the value that organizations are moving into, right? I know I'm from EY, so some of the pieces here will get, I maybe get bashed about it, but I think that's where the future is moving into, where planning the business, and the way we see it is on the planning the business, how quickly you can forecast your adaptability. Second is your AI scenario based capability. Much has been talked about plan the business, so I will not focus much on that. But if you look into the second part of it, which is run the business, zero-touch finance system of record. This is a reality. This is going to be a reality where transactions gets more and more automated and auto-posted without human intervention. GST is a classic example we spoke about, where touchless processing can actually increase to 95%. Continuous book close is an important element and a trend that we are seeing organizations moving into daily closure of P&L to ease decision making. So how can you do a continuous book close is a trend. On the reporting part of it is zero tolerance on regulatory and compliances. And I'm sure across the room, if I see there's a lot of nods in terms of how regulatory requirements are increasing day by day. Right. Then the last piece is the 100% digital audit. So the question earlier that Anurag asked me was about how do you define value, right? It's just in simple words, these are the 10 value that we see from any organization that is moving through. But yes, having said this, what are the big bets, right? If you look at it, managing the expectation from everyone is one of the key requirement from the CFOs, right? And the three benefits and the numbers that matters is, one, how can I increase volume of cash? Do you guys agree? Right? How do you increase velocity of cash? Agreed? Right? And then how do you reduce the volatility of the cash, right? So I think if we look at how the future of finance is moving is all around these three values and the numbers that is coming by. So any questions till date? And I'll go to the big bets that I have. So I think there are 5 strategic bets that we are talking to meet this piece. One, and that's all listed in here. So how do we move to digital operations is one of it. How do we move from data to insights? Finance talent, sustainable finance, and obviously underpinned by basic brilliance. Now we all talk about AI, automation, etc. Believe you in me when we say, in spite of us having enough automation, the processes are not digitalized. It is still running manually. Yes, we convert it into a digital form to process things. So how can we move from a digitized to a digital world is something that the journey is looking around. And the way we are seeing it evolve is the transformation or any function, it's not static. It's a journey that you have to ongoing and keep going in as well. As technology evolves, your journey changes, your goalpost changes. So how do you keep evolving the goalpost, and the journey around it is an important element that we look upon. So I know I don't have many slides, but I just have 5 slides to talk about as to what the journey is. When we talk about digital operations, can anyone relate to what Tom and Jerry has to do with finance? Anyone? The chase? And? You always see Jerry wins. Why? It's because of the speed of execution. It's because of the speed that goes. Right? So bigger businesses, if they are not nimble, if they are not agile in their operations, they tend to lose in the long run. That's what probably we see, the speed of operations, and digital operations will give you the speed in which the finance function needs to operate in the future, right? Which one is better, the upper one or the lower one? Lower one? We all believe we all want to be that way, but actually we are the upper one, right? So how do we declutter ourselves from data? Because data is available in plethora. How do I generate the right insights to make my decisions is the critical aspects of how we want to do. And that's what the journey is critical. There are hundreds of data points that gets digitally converted, but which information to make the right decision at the right time is critical. And that's where probably the second journey comes about. What is the difference between the first and the second photograph? Well, everyone is of this era, so everyone knows about it, right? The team of Ganguly versus the team of Virat Kohli. Fitness is the tenacity, right? What Ganguly built in the aggression and the attitude, and which we had, the muscle toning and the tenacity was built in by Virat Kohli. And that's what the stretching is, to see how your current talent, it needs to be continuously evolved. Before Ganguly, there was a certain amount of focus of how Indian team used to approach it. That aggression was brought in by Ganguly. That aggression was taken up to a next level by Virat Kohli. And that's what probably we need to be in a continuous involvement of flexing our muscles and building our muscles to suit the adaptability that we have. Finally, what is the change that we need to do? And very specifically on talent, there was enough questions in the mind that we talked about. 3 skill set changes we need to do. 1, the skill set, individuals. Tool set, we enable that skill set to happen, and most importantly, the mindset. If you don't have the right mindset, the first 2 will falter. So that's an important element and trait that we are seeing in the future, in the finance leaders of the future, to say that how do we instill that mindset that we want to have. Sustainability, we cannot have any discussions these days without sustainability. But more importantly, what has sustainability to do with the finance context? Increasingly, there was a white paper published by our research company which said societal value is one of the most important value that CFOs are facing on. So how do you move from your own current increasing the shareholders' value to more a societal value that you're talking about? This is some of the emerging concept that we are seeing for the office of the CFO that probably needs further more detailing to understand, okay, how do I contribute, or how does my firm or enterprise contribute more to the organization sustainability? We all crib in future, right? It's half full, half empty. But the point is, why bother when you can drink even the half? That's a mindset change that we need to do, right? But how do you think this all evolves into? It's finance being finance. It's organizations are willing to invest in business, but they lag behind in automation and digitalization of finance, right? Why? It's because of their own mindset that happens, right? So what it does to make an elephant dance, and you see the barriers to change. We spoke about in the morning about adoption, right? Why does digital transformation fail in any organization? It's the culture, the mindset. I am the best, right? And then I've done this, and I have arrived. I think that's the key messages. So I think while we talked about the big bets that you have, it's also imperative for us to look back and say what are the key areas that deters us from change and moving into the right way, right level that I want to approve into it. But just wanted to share some thoughts around what the future of finance is holding on to us, and what are the key challenges that helps us realize that path. Thank you all, and again, as I said, I will not stop between you and your lunch. Thank you.